Hey guys, so I'm finally recording a video on my actual day. Um, Congratulations to me, and sorry, I'm a little bit sick, so my voice might sound weird, but today we're talking about dating as a non-binary person. So I have had experience with dating, but it was all before I admitted to myself that I was non-binary. I've had my last relationship ended around the same time that I started questioning, and but at that point, I was questioning, but I hadn't really admitted to myself that I was questioning yet. This was at the very beginning of my journey to identifying as non-binary. So when I was dating these people, at the time I identified as a girl, and I didn't really think about my gender much. Someone's playing country music in the background. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm too lazy to go and close the window. So hopefully it's quiet enough that you can't hear it, or it's not going over my voice. Okay. Tangent. As I was saying, I identified as a girl, and both the people I dated were boys, cis boys at the time. As far as my boyfriends knew, I was a straight girl. I didn't really think about my gender in relation to our relationship. At that time when I did think about my gender, it was mostly in terms of facing sexism. And it was at least a year, if not more, after my last relationship ended that I told anybody that I thought I was non-binary. And in high school, I didn't really get involved with anybody else, and I also didn't really tell people that I was non-binary. My friends knew, but I only had a couple of friends, and none of my friends told anybody else. So as far as my peers knew, I was a straight cis girl, when in fact I was a bisexual non-binary person. But I was still figuring that out, and only my friends knew. Now that I've come to college, the first people I told were my friends, and but then I continued. I told people who were friends of friends, acquaintances. I was out as a non-binary person, and I am out as a non-binary person now that I'm in college, and I haven't been involved with anybody yet, but it's different because I was interested in a few people in high school, and they were people who were not my friends, my close friends, so they didn't know, they had no idea. And so I had to think about I want to date this person, but would they accept my identity? And at that point I hadn't had a lot of experience coming out to people, and I was just getting used to the idea that non-binary genders existed, so I wasn't really good at gauging whether or not other people were accepting. So honestly, I didn't even try. Like, I didn't even think about it. And at the time, I was interested in people, but I wasn't going to make any moves. For, I just wasn't ready to do that at that time. And now that I'm in college, there are people that I'm interested in dating, and so far it's all been people. Let me think. Yeah. So far, all the people that I've been interested in college are people who are sort of like in our our little queer out community. So everyone that I've been interested in is queer in some way and is out for like at least part of their identity, and all of them know that I'm non-binary. And as they haven't said anything bad about it, so as far as I know, they use my pronouns and accept my identity. I guess it's really nice because, I mean, the people that I was interested in before college, I honestly don't think that they would have, thought less of me because I was non-binary, but I think they would have said some ignorant things that could have really hurt my feelings. And I think that people would be surprised. Like, people from my high school would be surprised to find out that I was queer in any way, not even talking, like, not even, like, considering me being transgender. And, I guess, like, I mean, they would probably say things like, oh, there were no signs or anything like that in all the years that we knew you as a straight girl, but I think that a lot of cis people don't know, or they have a really stereotyped idea of the signs of transness are. So now that I'm in a new place, it's like nobody has expressed any surprise, like, oh, you're trans or you're non-binary. Like, wow, this is just, it's not, I haven't encountered any of that. Any surprise I've encountered has been like because they didn't know what non-binary meant or something. But because it's sort of like a clean slate, I guess I just chose what would be best for me would be to be, oh my god, I can't talk. What would be best for me would be to be out in college and in the various communities that I am a part of, like clubs that I go to and stuff like that, and just anyone that I hang out with regularly. Yeah, so I wish I had like more experience with dating and my non-binary identity together that I could talk to you about, but I don't really. But what I can say is that, so if the person you're with assumes that you're not queer in some way, and you come out to them as non-binary, first they're going to be really surprised because you're queer in some way. And then they're going to be surprised because you're non-binary. You see what I mean? Like, first, like, it's not just your gender that will surprise them. It's also the fact that your gender makes you queer. Does that make sense? It's like two parts, two things, like separate but related things that will surprise them, probably. Unless they're one of those rare cis straight people that, like, doesn't assume that anyone is, doesn't assume anybody else's, like, gender or sexual orientation. But I'm just saying that I think that people are more likely to assume that their romantic or sexual partners have the same, not necessarily, they assume that their partner has the same orientation and the opposite gender. It's just like, because of that idea that I mentioned, like, people who aren't queer stick to people who aren't queer, and queer people are only with queer people. Like, that idea is just, it's just really ingrained, I guess, in society. Even in, like, queer culture. And I could also, now, if you come out to someone as non-binary, someone that you're in a relationship with, or not necessarily in a relationship with, but you're dating, and they say hurtful things, they say bigoted things, you have to decide whether or not you are willing to continue seeing this person. And in most situations, I would say it's very likely that it's probably not a good idea to stay with that person or to date that person, because most people who respond badly to you coming out as non-binary will either, it shows, like, it shows you that their faults include bigotry, in which case you don't want to be with someone like that. Okay, when you're dating someone as a non-binary person, it's really unlikely that once someone, like, meets you, they're gonna assume you're non-binary, because like, either they're the sort of person who doesn't assume gender, in which case they won't assume anything, or more likely they are the sort of person who would assume gender, in which case they would probably, most people like that assume gender either based on your physical characteristics or on your gender expression. So, it's very likely that, you're going to have to decide whether or not to come out to the person you're dating as non-binary. So the first choice you have is whether or not you're going to tell them at all. Now, some reasons you might have for deciding you won't tell them is if it's a very casual, short-term thing, in which case you might say it's not worth the effort. Or if you're afraid of them reacting badly when you come out to them, or you're afraid of them telling other people, whatever reason you have for, not wanting to tell them. And reasons you have for wanting to tell them is generally, people, it's important in varying degrees to people to have their gender validated and just generally known, and just not be misgendered. Yeah, and that's important to most people, and it can really negatively impact your emotional health if someone who's important to you, or society in general, doesn't acknowledge your gender and misgenders you. So that's a pretty big reason. So if you're deciding not to tell them at all, I would just, be careful with your emotional health. Like, be honest with yourself. Can I handle being misgendered by this person that I'm dating? And is it worth it? Like, is it really worth the repercussions of being misgendered to date this person? And also, if your concern is their reaction, you have to consider, am I willing to date someone who would react badly to my identity? Now, if you decide that you are going to tell them, then you have to decide when. Do you tell them when you first meet them? On the first date? The second date? After knowing each other for a month? Like, when do you do it? And how do you do it? So that, I feel like, it really, it varies on two things. It varies on your personality, and then also it just varies on chance. Because, I think it's best to... I guess this doesn't work out. I don't feel like this applies to coming out in general, but I feel like when it comes to, when you're getting to know someone, when you're dating them, as opposed to someone that you already know extremely well, like family, I feel like when coming out to that sort of person, there isn't really a strict moment that you need to do it. So I would just suggest figuring out what you're going to say, and then waiting for a moment where maybe, somehow it comes up, gender comes up in the conversation, or maybe there's a lull in the conversation. Whichever you feel most comfortable with. Personally, I haven't had this, as I said, I haven't dated since being out as non-binary, but when I'm meeting new people, I tend to come out when gender comes up. That is just easier for me. When the subject comes up, and I can be like, or if they gender me, and I can just be like, no, I'm not a girl. And then they're like, oh, sorry, and I'm like, it's okay, and then we can go on. But, maybe you don't want to be confrontational, so that might be a reason why you go for the pause in the conversation route. So, One thing that I would definitely suggest is, if you think that the person you're dating might react violently, whether it's like yelling at you or hitting you or some other action that results in violence against you, if you come out, do not date that person. That is not a person you want to spend time with, spend time on. You deserve better than that. But other than that, it's up to you to decide how much you're willing to put up with from a romantic or sexual partner. And what I want you to know is, you deserve someone who wholly accepts your gender identity. You know, and it's not, that's just like common decency. You know, it's not like they're, you know, someone who's dating you who, if they accept you're non-binary, it's not like they're doing anything special for you. You know? If you were binary and cis, like, you would expect them, and everybody else, society would expect them to respect your identity. But it's because we're told as non-binary people, you know, that our pronouns are so hard, or it's just so hard to understand our gender identities. But it's really not. Like, maybe the pronouns are hard, but it's really not that hard to accept someone's gender identity, and the pronouns can come with work. And it's just like, if someone isn't willing to do some work to respect you, like, I mean, ultimately it's up to you, because I don't know the situation, and there are different degrees of disrespect, but you have to decide at what point will you not put up with it. And personally, I think, like, whatever you decide, I want you to know that you deserve the basic respect. You deserve not to be disrespected in regards to your gender. Even if you decide to put up with some mild disrespect for the sake of dating someone, I want you to believe, even as you do that you do deserve the respect. Also, I just want to say to be wary of someone who is more attached to the definition of their sexuality than they are to you. What I mean is, if someone who is only attracted to one gender, or they say that they're only attracted to one gender, is dating you or wants to date you, and you say that you're non-binary, and it's like they don't want to date you, or they're not sure if they want to date you anymore, honestly, like, I mean, they don't have to change their orientation for you. If they wouldn't rather, like, date you and have to deal with, say, like, calling, you know, saying, oh, I'm straight with an exception, or I'm gay with an exception, or just, like, saying, yeah, I'm gay, but I'm dating a non-binary person, or yeah, I'm straight, but I'm dating a non-binary person, if they're not willing to be less rigid with their definitions, then, you know, first of all, they need to figure out how to be more flexible for their own sake and their own emotional health. But also, like, they don't want to date you enough. You deserve someone who wants to date you enough that they value their relationship with you over being seen as someone who is attracted to you. Because are they ashamed of being attracted to you? They shouldn't be. You shouldn't date someone who's ashamed to be attracted to you. And, you know, if, I don't know. Sorry, like, I could talk more in depth with this, but I'm kind of sick, and I'm having trouble staying. I'm just having trouble making this video. So I hope everybody's well. We're still looking for new members, so if you are designated male at birth, 17 or older, and can make videos regularly, please do make an audition video and send it to us. You can look on our Tumblr for more details if you want to audition. Okay, bye guys. Good luck.